Thank you, Shepard. Well, what happens in Vegas will not be staying in Vegas after the president announces his executive actions on illegal immigration. Tomorrow night, he will be celebrating in Sin City. And to hear Democratic Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee, it will be a sin if you do not whoop it up.
This is not amnesty. This is prioritization. This is saving money. This is keeping families together. This is allowing children to not come home to places where their parents have been thrown from their places of work and taken away from them. I'm excited about the courage of this president. I look forward to America finally understanding the gifts that you are given. Let us not be a selfish nation. Let us be a generous nation.
Welcome, everybody. I'm Neil Cavuto, and Sheila Jackson Lee says you're selfish if you're not revved up for what the president is about to do for illegals on your dime. Then you might as well count Republican Arizona Congresswoman Matt Salmon as selfish, and right about now, furious. What do you make of this and this argument that this is something we as a people should feel united in doing? What do you make of that? Can you hear me, Congressman?
Oh, well, this is Congressman Jared Polis, actually. But well, I think absolutely it's a time for exciting an opportunity to focus on criminal aliens. We have limited enforcement resources. If Congress were to give the president more resources, that would obviously be helpful. But in the meantime, focusing on the actual threat of criminal aliens rather than the, who knows, 8-10 million people here, some of whom were brought here at a young age, will help make America safer and restore the rule of law.
All right, Congressman, I'm very, very sorry about that. It was my screw up. But I do want to get this sense of where we go with this, because there are a lot of Americans who are hearing this and saying we're giving preferential treatment to 5 million illegals, and a lot of legal Americans are going to foot the bill for that. What do you say?
So what it's really about is, so we all know this, there could be 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 million, who knows how many people here violating our laws that are here illegally. So the question is, with the enforcement resources we have, the current level of law enforcement, we certainly need more border security, more internal enforcement, but with whatever level we fund it at, who do we focus on detaining and removing? And what I hope and expect that the president will make clear this week is that the focus of that should be criminal aliens who've committed a crime, meaning that we can have a laser-like focus on our enforcement and make sure that we don't divert a bed that could be used for a criminal or deportation, which cost about $10,000 each, that could be used for a criminal, and instead deport somebody whose only violation might be civil and might be taking.
But do you think we're really going to do that? I
mean,
it's been greeted cynically by a lot of folks who say that, especially border sheriffs who say every time, they give ISIS a heads up about an illegal in their ranks, they give them to ISIS, they get placed back on the border if they're so lucky, and then all of a sudden they're back in the same jails or back in the United States. So what are we really doing here?
Well, this will allow a greater focus on, again, there are some, just as there are some Americans who commit crimes, there's some illegal immigrants who commit crimes, or some legal immigrants who commit crimes, and that is the danger to the community. Obviously, Congress needs to fix the whole border security thing. That takes money. The president can't unilaterally do that. I hope that Congress passes a border security bill. We need to do that. But in the meantime, the best that we can do with current resources is to focus those on criminal aliens, and that's what the president plans to do this week.
All right, but what he's doing in the meantime is, if you even allow to take the criminals and and those who are problem cases out of the equation, he is starting a process by which Republicans argue he is going to essentially be waving out stop deportations, first for 5 million, then for 10 million. Then waive them, barring any criminal history, for all the illegals here. Is that going to happen?
Well, no, I would fully expect that after this announcement, deportations would continue up to the current budget level, but we would simply make sure that those are people who violated our criminal laws that represent a threat to our community.
Congressman, you don't think that the illegals who are already here, if they don't have a criminal record, that they can breathe a sigh of relief that no one's going to be deporting them anywhere?
Well, again, if you are here illegally and you do not have a criminal record, the enforcement, including the police, ICE, all those folks, they should only go after you after all the criminals are deported. And we know that there are plenty of criminals that should be the subject of investigations. What we also get from this is people who register their addresses, their occupations, all of that will make sure that we have that, so we have a better national security, so we know where people are.
Okay, Congressman, thank you again. Sorry for my screw-up, sir. Very good having you.
Thank you, Neil.
All right. In the meantime, ahead of the president rolling out his own plan, the New York Times reports now that it will likely not include health benefits for those millions of illegals. But Jessica Vaughn with the Center for Immigration Studies isn't buying that. You argued it's just a matter of time before they do have this, because if you're not going to be deported, you will be treated like a U.S. citizen, just without the certification, right?
That's right. And to be clear, what the New York Times was talking about was just one small part of our healthcare delivery system, and that's the subsidies under Obamacare. The president has said that the 5 million people he's planning on giving amnesty to will not qualify for that. But there are a couple of other ways that, in fact, these people will be able to access taxpayer-funded health care benefits. For one thing, the states have very wide latitude on who they allow to get publicly funded health care services, and a lot of them will be very happy to do that for this population of people who get legalized, because the law says that someone who is quote-unquote lawfully present is able to qualify for health care benefits in probably most states in the union. So that's going to be an enormous cost
on
taxpayers.
The same?
But second,
but Jessica, is that the same as someone who's here on a green card? In other words, they have almost citizen-like status. So with that comes all the benefits of this of living in this country.
No, it's actually a double standard, because legal immigrants have to wait 5 years before they're able to access a lot of welfare benefits under federal law.
But these guys move right to the front of the line.
That's exactly right. In many ways, you know, they have a double standard for the kinds of criminal histories that are allowed, and you know, they're able to get their deferred action at a discount rate from what it would actually cost to process that application if they were applying for a green card. So there are all kinds of ways that they're really you know, able to be advantaged over legal immigrants, besides the fact that they don't have to wait their turn. The president's going to just sort of unilaterally declare them to be here legally.
And I would imagine then, if you're not among these 5 million, I would assume they've screened out, you know, murderers and robbers and all the rest. The others who are here can breathe a sigh of relief, because it would be, if you're them, thinking it's just a matter of time before they too are granted some sort of similar status.
Right. I mean, the thing is yes, some people will be screened out and denied deferred action, but it'll be a very small number, judging by the way they handled the first executive amnesty, which was deferred action for childhood arrivals. Only a few people actually got rejected, but nothing happened to them even though they were rejected. They were not a priority for deportation. So, you know, I mean, I think if the public thought that the other 7 million people who aren't going to qualify for the president's latest executive amnesty were actually going to be deported, maybe there would be more support for it. But we know that nothing's going to change, that this large number of people are going to be able to get work permits and Social Security numbers and all these benefits.
All right, Jessica, thank you, I think. Well, all this talk about what's in the president's plan, but do we even need it at all? Republican strategist Sherry Jacobitz says we don't. It's going to happen. I would imagine it poisons more than just a couple of political wells, right?
Sure. And look, the president knows this. Democrats know this isn't what the American people want. If this was what the American people wanted, he would have been doing this before the election 2 weeks ago. And I think that he knew that this was not what we wanted, that it's not good for the country. He's kind of trying to nip around the edges here and act like he's compromising, but he's not. It's now up to Republicans in Congress, who have the majority, to take some stands against this.
Like what? Now, they argue that what he's doing is a legal leap, that he can't do it. Others go so far as to say an impeachable offense.
Right.
Others say it's worthy of shutting down the government, but it's almost like he's drawing them in. So what do?
He wants to have this fight. Some Republicans think it's good to have the fight. I think I could argue that both ways. But look, the first thing Republicans need to do is make sure the border is secure. And there's no reason to tie that to amnesty or anything else. That is something we need to do now that we have infectious diseases coming over the border. We have that scare, the fact that we had, you know, probably ISIS at the border.
Who's to say tomorrow night he doesn't spell something out on the border?
Well, you know, we hope that he does. And we hope
but you argue that quid pro quo would not be good enough.
You know, it is something that should be separate from everything else. To tie it to anything else is just wrong. And anybody says you have to tie the two together is wrong. And they're trying to pull the wool over our eyes. And also you hear a lot of folks on the left say, well, you know, Reagan gave some amnesty to some illegals, as did the first President Bush. And the difference is, first of all, it's presidential leadership. This was done for a very, very small group of people. Basically, amnesty as a form of political asylum when they needed it. The American people knew this, and these were leaders that we trusted, and we knew why they were doing it. And that is not any comparison to what this president is doing, what President Obama is doing, by trying to sort of get off on a technicality here and saying there's a precedent. This is a huge overreach, what he's trying to do.
I just think it telegraphs 2 years of nothing getting done.
Well, I think that what he wants to do is bring in a lot of new people who will eventually vote Democrat, because they cannot grow the Democratic ranks currently. Right now, after this last election, I think they know that. So there's a scramble to try to bring new people in who eventually can vote Democrat. All right.
Sherry Jacobus, thank you very much. The Republican Governors Conference is going on as we speak. John Kasich, the Ohio governor, who was elected, essentially reelected in a landslide, got 64% of the vote. He's talking up the new conservatism, as he puts it. He'll be expounding on that a little bit later on this show. Meanwhile, forget about what Gruber's saying in all of these videos. Who's that laughing in all of these videos?
Because America is too stupid to understand the difference.